I was supposed to be a zoologist. I never wanted to be a musician. I left school 2 years earlier than I thought I was going to leave, kind of hastily. Joined the band only thinking I was going to be in it for a year, and that's like 34 years ago.
Did you study journalism, or you worked as a journalist?
Actually, for a year. Now, it's a good thing for a kid to do. I was only 19 or 20. It got me more organised, and it helped me to cope with information coming in.
The 80s was the golden era for Dire Straits. The arrival of MTV and the music video was another perfect inspiration for Mark's songwriting.
Money for nothing. I was in a kitchen shop with those electrical appliances, and the guy doing deliveries at the back, and he's looking at all these TVs, and they're all tuned to MTV. And so he's the authority on music all of a sudden, this meathead. Yeah.
Look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working, that's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free.
All those things he was saying, I just thought they were classic. You know, that ain't working, and, you know, maybe get a blister on your little finger, you know.
Maybe get a blister on your little finger. Maybe get a blister on your thumb.
I sat down in the kitchen display area in the window of the store and started writing the song down there, kind of doing a little bit of reporting.
We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move.
Sometimes people ask me to write tunes for people. You know, it's a big tradition. That
just the young lady's name and then the music, right?
Yeah, Eleanor Avusa, you know.
That's a beautiful tune. I love that tune.
You know,
that's just about my favourite one that you did.
Thank you.
Yes.
But the way that came about was that this guy came up to me and he said to me that his wife had just died, and he missed her very much, and he would love to have something that he could put on and remember her by. He was a lovely old guy. He was in tears at the end of the night when I told him what I'd done. But you know, it's nice. It's nice that you know, when that kind of thing happens.
That's absolutely lovely. Yeah, it's a good story. I'll drink to that.
Phil grew up in Edinburgh and has lived in Scotland ever since. Mark was born in Glasgow. He moved to Newcastle when he was 8. He has fond memories of growing up near the Clyde shipyards.
I used to go down and play on Earl Street near the Clyde when I was a kid. I had shipyard workers' sons for friends, and and when I would lie in bed at night, I'd hear the foghorns. And actually, the first track on the first Dire Straits album, I was imitating the sounds of the foghorn with my guitar. You know, I suppose it's easier for you to do on an accordion, isn't it?
What are you trying to say? When I was working with you last year and you sang the song So Far From the Clyde, I had never given a minute's thought to what happened to a boat when it died, when it was over. I had no idea, and it was a very moving song.
Mark's song So Far From the Clyde was inspired by the ship-breaking beaches in India, where most ships end their days.
There's this army of people who descend on the boat.
They're like ants, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They just take everything out of it. The Clyde-built ships were particularly beautiful, you know. And India seems like a long way for a beautiful Clyde-built ship to go to die.
So far from land, together we ride.
Kind of fascinated by the process and why it would become a song. At what point did the story become a song in your head?
That's the hard one. It's a little bit like a novelist who finds out what the book is about as it's halfway through, or even towards the end.
Yeah. I've had no success with lyrics ever in my life. I suppose it's because I've got a dirty mind. You know, I can't use a whole lot of words. I can't use luck or night.
you know. Yeah.
So Far from the Clyde was a return to Mark's Scottish roots. Phil collaborated on 4 of these nostalgic tracks on Knopfler's 2009 album, Get Lucky.
Yeah, that was good. That's interesting. Yeah, I like the way you ended it. It's because it's the end. You know, it's probably better than what I did.
No, it's just habit for me.
The funny thing is that I'm hearing the words, you see. I'm hearing be a fiber to the end. So I have to play it that way, but you don't.
Get Lucky, the last album, you cannot help noticing how much rootsy stuff you've got in there that I'm presuming refers to your Scottish roots.
Yeah, I think so. I can't play for very long without that, what you call those, or what I suppose a musician would call the intervals, you know. That little thing that's a Celtic thing that's just in the playing, you know. It's in your ears.
Call it a Scotch snap.
Do they?
Yeah, it drives me mad. That's what they call it.
That sounds like a biscuit.
Scotch snap, it does a bit.
Dear, oh dear.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Although Phil and Mark had very successful careers with Silly Wizard and Dire Straits, they also ventured outside their bands into solo projects. In 1983, Mark composed his first and most iconic soundtrack, Bill Forsyth's Local Hero.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was Bill Forsyth to work with?
Great. Everything was fine except for me. They were all great, but I was just piled in and did far too much too early because it was my first film, you know.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, and actually I've slowed down on the soundtrack thing a lot. I started off with a bit of a burst and I did a few, but I don't know that I do it that well. I find more with soundtracks, I just kind of lurch from one crisis to the next until it's over.
You're definitely not alone.
No, well, it's those sound coder things that again, which I haven't been trained to do, you know.
Falling down the stairs.
Going down the stairs or whatever, you know, and, you know, wah, wah, wah.
Whenever you released, like, you know, the soundtrack to Local Hero or Cal, that was all we played in the band's van for weeks on end. I learned the Irish Boy theme in the back of the van going up and down the M6, you know. It's a lovely theme. Can you remember it? I've got the whistle. See if I can remember the. Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah. That's lovely. Brings back happy memories. It was the first time that anybody in a pop band, if you like, a pop star, was playing music that we could relate to. You know, and it was a great new sound.
In 1990, Bill Bryden asked Phil to be musical director for his impressive large-scale theatre piece, The Ship. He went on to create many television soundtracks, including the 1994 remake of Parahandy.
So with the films, though, I mean, I don't know whether you found that you got better at it the more you did it, or whether you...
Well, I've done a few different types of thing now, and recently I did this wildlife film, and I think I'd be quite happy if that's all I had to do writing-wise for the rest of my life.
Really?
Sit and looking at wildlife films.
So how much about your nature film do you want to do, and how much do you want to make your own album, and how do they stand together?
Well, it's a difficult thing for a gigging musician to prioritise things, because it's feast or famine in a lot of cases. You never know, you know, if you're going to be flavour of the month, you know, next month. You keep doing the gigs while you're there. I mean, I've been doing this for 34 years now, and without hardly even trying. It's been happening by itself. So I should have the confidence just to do whatever I need to do, but we make it hard for ourselves.
Yeah, you can bet. If there is a way, I'll do that. Yeah.